Hello and welcome to your cricket podcast Turning Point here on NDTV with me, Rika Roy. This is the first big move towards gender diversity in cricket. Sarah Taylor is a trailblazer, an accomplished English cricketer and coach. She now joins the Abu Dhabi T10 League to coach a men's team, a first in the game. She will be coaching the Abu Dhabi team, which has few of the world's top-notch cricketers like Chris Gayle. Let's listen into her story. Sarah, it's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. First thing first, when you heard that you were being appointed as the coach of a T10 team, Abu Dhabi T10 team, and you have to coach a bunch of men, your reaction?
Well, to be honest, I was a little bit shocked to kind of get the call for Team Abu Dhabi. An amazing call, really. But in terms of kind of coaching men, I'm like lucky I have the opportunity to coach at Sussex as well. So that's so I've kind of got used to it now. I don't kind of see them as men. I just kind of see them as players now, which is quite nice, I guess. But yeah, it was just another job, an opportunity for me to learn from the coaches and the players, and I couldn't really turn it down, to be honest.
Sarah, I wouldn't quite know how is it like in England, but in India, you hear a lot of teachers in school who are girls, who are ladies. But when you hear the word professor, it is a term that is inherently applied to, or, you think of a male member, you think of a man as a professor and a teacher as a woman. Do you think this is what is going to change perceptions now? More and more women coming into bigger roles in coaching and in teaching?
Yes, I mean, I hope so. I really do hope so. Like you say, obviously slightly different here. But I think ultimately, the more women that kind of venture into the men's game coaching and, hopefully in the teaching roles as well, the more normal it will be. And, I think we should definitely be seen as just a coach or just as just as a coach. We are judged purely on our coaching ability, not whether we are a man or a woman. And I think I've said it before that actually, there will be some men's coaches that are suited to the women's game. And I think it should be exactly the same crossover, that there will be some, women that are suited to the men's game. So, hopefully we are judged purely on our ability. And if that's the case for teaching in India, then I hope that's the case as well.
Sarah, I really have to ask you, and I'm curious to know this answer. Have you thought of being in the dressing room with Chris Gayle and handing him some batting tips?
I mean, he's done pretty well without me so far. So I can't imagine. I also don't think I would hand on any batting tips to some of the best batsmen that have ever played the game. So, but look, it's obvious that I'm clearly there for kind of a bit more of a keeping role. It'll be amazing to work with some of the keepers there, and then I can admire some of the batting that's going to be on show from our team, and not just our team, actually, from the entire tournament. But yeah, I don't think I would ever tell Chris how to do what he does. I don't think anyone would really, to be honest. I don't think it's just me. I think it's a lot of people.
Well, I'll have to ask you about another man you will be sharing the dressing room with, that is former South African all-rounder Lance Klusener. What kind of a relationship will you share with him?
I've never met Lance, so I'm hoping that, to be honest, with all the staff, really, all the coaching staff, I'm hoping that we become a close unit that, we discuss a lot of matters as a group, and we come to decisions as a team. And I know that Paul Fabre is very much in that mould. He knows we're supposed to be a unit. But look, I am there, obviously to give my opinion at times, like any other coach. But to learn. If you have a look at the coaches that are there, they're experienced coaches, and I am very early on in my coaching career. So regardless of whether it's, men's or women's cricket that I'm coaching in, I think that, this is an opportunity for me to learn even more than I'm already learning at Sussex. And, at the school I work at, a Bede school. So I'm always constantly learning. I've got a little notebook of mine that I always put a lot of notes in and try and take some nuggets out of the environment that
You're
I'm
going
in.
to get to Abu Dhabi with a... Sorry, are you going to get to Abu Dhabi with a big notebook of yours, taking notes all the time?
Absolutely. I feel like I'd be stupid not to. I've got a kind of notebook with loads of drills that I'm trying to write down and a lot of notes that I'm kind of learning. And sometimes it's not even about the cricket skills. It's actually about how you deal with certain players. You can't treat every player the same. You have to treat everyone individually. So it's learning those skills as well. So, look, Paul Farrace is very successful in the roles that he's had previous. So I will hopefully learn a lot from him and the other coaching staff.
Sarah, you are still someone who's playing, who isn't done with her playing career. You played in the 100, you played in the Women's T20 Cup. Balancing your coaching career with your playing career, how would that be really?
Look, I mean, the 100 was an amazing opportunity to be, obviously because of COVID, the first year was obviously moved back. So it did give me an opportunity to kind of retire, have that time off and reflect, and then be in a place to play in it again. And it being the first year, it was actually a really nice occasion and it was an amazing tournament. Look, if there was ever a coaching role and a playing role that were at the same time, I'm quite set in my ways in the fact that the coaching role would probably take precedent, just because that's my passion right now. That is my drive. I feel like I've had an excellent career, and I have nothing to be ashamed of in that regard. So it's now a case of the next chapter. But look, if I will never rule out playing again until I'm 100% ready to say so. So you never know. I could play next year again. I don't know. I'm going to sit on the fence.
Well, do we see you play at the World Cup, which is coming up next year?
No, there will be no international cricket for me. Okay. No, none whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, this form of the sport, T10, is very new, very unique. I wouldn't say very new because it's had its run for the last few years. But, someone like you who've played all forms of the game, 3 forms of the game, the tests, the ODIs and T20s, what really was the pull to come to Abu Dhabi and take up a coaching job with the T10 team?
Look, I watched it last year. I paid a lot of attention to it last year. And I just enjoyed, I mean, it's almost like a wonderful chaos, if you can call it like that. It's, I don't know if it's ever been put like that before, but it's just, T20 is obviously fast. So, but you have time to kind of get in. So I'm really interested to see in T10 whether, it is genuinely from ball one, really. And it's so exciting. There's no kind of lull in play. It keeps going. And you think, there's a moment of calm, but there never really will be. But it's amazing to see how players adapt to that game, having played a lot of T20 cricket or some have played in the 100. So it's going to be so nice to see people adapt and even from a coaching point of view, that, yes, I've watched it, but actually what are the coaches thinking? So it'll be really interesting to learn all of that, from the guys out there as well. So look, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? There's some of the names that are playing in it this year. It's going to be some phenomenal cricket, and a lot of balls lost, I'm assuming.
Would you say it also puts you in a good position to take on this role because you played this year, you played a very new format of the game, the 100s. We hadn't seen the 100s before, and it was something very new, experimental. So, time for you to carry on the experiment forward in a new role?
Yeah, you can say that, absolutely. I always like to try new things, really push myself in everything that I do. That's the kind of the sportsman in you. Look, like I say, I probably didn't watch it when it first started, but I definitely watched it last year and I was excited by it. So the 100 was amazing. It was new, it was fun, and it was successful. And I'm hoping that the T10, can become even bigger than it is at the minute, and we can keep pushing boundaries with that as well. So yeah, it's going to be nice to push myself in terms of my coaching and my learnings really within this tournament, and hopefully I can use those learnings and take them into other formats.
Sarah, since you mentioned about pushing boundaries, how many women like you in England now will be keen to take on roles like yours? Are there many who are looking at coaching jobs?
Look, I know there's plenty of amazing female coaches out in this country currently. Do I know whether they personally want to go into the men's game? No, I don't. I would. I actually feel a little bit rubbish for not asking them. But there is some amazing coaches out there, and a lot of kind of untapped potential, if you want to put it that way. So I'm kind of hoping that there will be a lot of teams or kind of operations looking at things and realizing that female coaches are just as good as men. So like I said at the start, they should be judged on their ability as a coach, not whether they're a man or a woman. I mean, you can get a bad men's coach, so it's irrelevant really on your gender. So I'm hoping there's a lot of organisations out there that are looking at female coaches as an option. So instead of it just being a pool of men's coaches to look at, then there's actually a lot of female coaches that are now within that, and then everyone is seen just as a coach. So like I said, there's a lot of amazing female coaches here, and I don't see why they shouldn't be granted any opportunity in a men's setup.
Sarah, since you are a trailblazer, if there were 3 suggestions that you would like to give to your fellow coaches, fellow players who would want to take up a coaching role, what would they be?
3 things. I think make sure there's passion. There is passion to learn, passion to push yourself. You really have to push yourself. Be uncomfortable at times, that's a very good question, actually. Good from you. Look, I mean, I grew up playing boys cricket. So there's an element when you play boys cricket that every time you play, you have to prove yourself, not because you're a bad cricketer, but because you're a girl. Mm-hmm. And I'm still in that mold, really. But I hope that doesn't stay, and I am purely judged on my coaching ability, not my gender, like I say. But look, if you ask anyone that knows me, I am incredibly stubborn, and I don't like hearing no. And I'm sure there is some element of that in you as well. So it's, if you want to do something, I think you should do it. And I started coaching just at Bede School. I can't thank them enough because they've kind of paved the way for me in this regard. So, they pushed me to be better, and I learned a lot from them. And I was given opportunities at Sussex, James Curley in Salisbury. They pushed me there. And then all of a sudden this has come about, and they would not let me say no to this opportunity. So I have amazing people around me. I think that's also important. But also, again, I am very stubborn. And if I at some point think that I can't do it, I almost inevitably say yes to it, because
you just dive in.
You dive in. Do you know what? Sometimes you can't think, you just have to do. And if I walk away from this experience saying, do you know what, I'm probably not good enough, then at least I've given it a go. But I also at the same time have to back my abilities and say, do you know what, I think I am. So, I'm going to go in there with everything that I've got, and, just be the coach that I think I am, or, be the coach that I think I could potentially be. I still have to learn. I'm still very young I'm a baby really in my coaching career. So, I'm going to go there and learn so much. So even if it doesn't go that badly, I will still walk away with some amazing learnings to make me a better coach. So, I mean, that's probably not really answered your question, but, I am.
No, you have actually answered your question, because, my takeaway is that you are a certain kind of person and you go and prove what you are. I think that's the thing. That's the message that you are trying to give here. I really have to ask you, 2019, when you retired, you were at the prime of your career. You still are. You still are a very active cricketer. You said that you had anxiety issues at that time. Deciding to pull the plug on your international career, how difficult was that decision? You think the time was right?
I think I'm going to be brutally honest here. It was actually somewhere in the middle of difficulty, because it was difficult in regard to the lifestyle that I was leaving behind, my friends that I was leaving behind, that kind of team atmosphere. But it was absolutely an easy decision because I was unwell, and I was unwell regarding travel. I was unwell regarding anxiety, performance anxiety, and I was becoming more and more ill to the point where I just didn't want to play. So it was the right decision, absolutely. So it was an easy decision in that regard, but really difficult of what I was leaving behind, and difficult in regards to what I was venturing into. So I had no idea. So that was a very scary.
How are you now?
I'm 100% better, and I'm not by any means fixed. I am still battling my demons, but I am managing, and that's really exciting for me, that I am managing and still moving forward. It's when you manage and just stay still, that was a worrying point in my career, and I felt like I was at that point. In 2019, I was trying to do all this work, but didn't feel like I was getting any better. But now I am getting better and moving forward. Look, traveling was a hard one for me. I suffer with agoraphobia, so it's not a case of, I can leave the house, obviously, but it's a case of I struggle with travel. I do like flying. Turbulence I find a little bit fun. But it's that being away from a safe space. So the fact that I'm now in a position that obviously affected me when I played for England when we toured in the winter, hence why I didn't sometimes tour in the winter. But look, I am now off my own back, going all the way to Abu Dhabi. So that just shows the progress that's been made within my life. And yeah,
do you think that's one of the key things? That's one of the key learnings that you can give to your, mates in the Abu Dhabi team, and maybe when you coach others as well. The learnings that you've got from being anxious, pulling the plug on your cricketing career at your prime, and you're getting back to health. All of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that is something that I do at Sussex. So yes, I am a keeping coach, but ultimately I'm there if they need to talk. I'm not saying that the guys in Abu Dhabi will want to open up to me about their mumblings, but it's also another avenue of mine that I'm extremely passionate about. And look, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, whether you've played cricket or not. Everyone has pressures to deal with, an expectation, and no one's expectation is higher than anyone else's. So it's your own realities. So, look, I'm quite willing to talk to the guys if they ever wanted to talk. So yeah, that would be another kind of like a string to my bow, if you want to put it that way. So yeah, hopefully if they ever needed someone to talk to, I would be absolutely willing to talk.
Sarah, I'll have to tell you that your decision to take up this coaching role is not just splendid, but it vindicates a lot of us who are trying to make our mark in the sports business. Thank you very, very much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Sarah Taylor begins her coaching stint with the Abu Dhabi T10 team on the 19th of November. Their first match against Bangla Tigers will be a huge moment for cricket when Sarah walks into the dugout with the team. Here's wishing her all the best from all our listeners. That's it on this episode of Turning Point. Please send your suggestions to me on rika@ndtv.com.